Hello, I'm BrigantiaBlackbird of BlackbirdsBrew. Happy Saturday and welcome to Wicca 101. This week we are talking about ancestors. Ancestor veneration is an important core principle in nearly every pagan path, and Wicca is no exception. The question is, why is this emphasized? After all, our ancestors were imperfect people like us, so why give them special honor? Well, to begin with, without our ancestors, we wouldn't even exist, just as leaves on the tree wouldn't exist without its roots. This is a consistent principle throughout the natural world. And if we cannot value the gift of our existence and the opportunity to experience life and have spiritual experiences on top of that, then we have some issues that need to be resolved, and we should probably get on that. So to begin with, let's talk about ancestors of our blood. Everyone living is a descendant, of course, and in the United States, it's quite possible and increasingly probable that individuals have bloodlines that go all the way around the globe. Humans have always intermarried, so any notions about ethnic purity are absolutely nonsensical, scientifically, certainly. And in pagan myths, let's remember, it's not at all unusual for the gods themselves to have parents who hailed from different tribes. For example, take Thor, an Aesir god who was actually one quarters giant, far more giant than he was a seer, and yet. And it took all our ancestors, whoever they were, in order to bring us into existence. They made sacrifices, they endured struggle, and they made difficult choices in order to ensure the survival of their family, of which we are an extended part. That alone requires respect, even if we don't necessarily admire everyone in our family tree. Now, spiritual ancestors. Religion and spirituality do evolve throughout time, and when we research, it's easy to point out examples of influential thinkers and how customs developed through the centuries and how the landscape had an effect on everything. All the stuff. This is one of the reasons why there isn't a pure path of any form of religion, because like our DNA, it was built up and added to over time. It is a crazy quilt, and there's no getting away from that. And tracing the roots of pagan ideas means learning who our spiritual ancestors are, and whether we completely agree with them or not, the truth is we would not have the spiritual heritage we now possess without their contributions, and that warrants respect. We could also think of the gods as being ancestors of sorts, whether it's literal or metaphorical or somehow both. Of course, we can't be entirely sure how that works, but what is certain is that there are some specific gods who formed relationships with specific tribes of people, and some rulers were even claiming direct descent from those gods. Kinship is very important in paganism, and we know that families are formed through blood, marriage, and adoption. This is why sometimes you will find people who are drawn to pantheons from very different cultures than what they ethnically came from, and it's because sometimes the gods themselves just take a liking to an individual, and they've taken them in their own in a certain sense. And honoring the gods involves adopting their values, which is a conscious process considering most of us weren't raised pagans. So, at some point in our lives, we started looking into what this was and trying to put it into practice. And this study and this practice of a deity's philosophy is one of the way of allowing our actions to show who we really are spiritually descended from. Whose ideas do we really believe in? So let's talk about becoming an ancestor. Whether you have children or not, you can become an ancestor, and leaving a legacy behind you is something worth striving for. Obviously, literally having a family ensures your place in ancestral realms, but it doesn't just stop with bringing a child into the world. The real work is what you teach and how you influence your children, whether these are children of your blood or children who you have adopted. Spiritually, becoming a teacher, at least in some sense of the term, is a way of becoming an ancestor. If you have a good idea and you put it out into the world and it actually benefits other people's, then you have become part of their spiritual lineage. And hopefully one day in turn, you will also be honored. So that is what I have to say about ancestors this week. I know we covered a lot of big topics in kind of a skirting way. However, As I've said before in many other videos, this entire course about introducing you to some core concepts and basic ideas. And as we go through Wicca 202 and Wicca 303 and your own personal studies, layers will be getting added onto that. But we got to start with the outline. So now let's talk about homework for July 30th through August 5th. Number 1. How do you feel about your ancestors in your family line? And do you think those feelings have been influenced by the current climate? Has it been warranted? Has this been a good or a bad thing? 2. What do you think is a good way to show respect for one's roots? This could be either with your flesh and blood family, spiritual family, or a deity with whom you feel a very special connection and kinship. And 3. Journal your thoughts about the idea of spiritual ancestry. I think that could take you to some very interesting places. But that does it for this week. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please let me know in the comments section or come see us on Gilded, which is our new community server. You are very welcome to join us there. There's lots of people. They're getting more talkative. We would all be happy to converse with you. So don't be shy. Come right in and we'll take things from there. But that will do it for this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.